When high achievers set a goal, they set it with the expectation that they will achieve it. The great boxer Muhammad Ali never spoke in terms of if I win, he spoke in terms of when I win. When women announce that they're pregnant, they say, I'm expecting. That doesn't mean that they might have a baby or hoping to have a baby. They expect to. In terms of your goals and dreams, expect to win, expect to achieve. Act as if it were impossible to fail.
Well, I think once you've determined where you want to go, and then sort of set your purpose and passion towards that end, then you just have to go after it.
ライフスタイルは実現できる環境というものがあったんで、もうそれを明確にイメージした時に僕はもう結果が決まったんですね。あとは原因作りをしていくだけ。だからうまくいかないこともいくことも全部受け入れてやり続けることによって絶対にそこに到達できるという、要するにもう成功した人たちのもう例がありますから、それを信じて一つ一つのステップを受け入れてトライしていけば絶対そこにゴールがあると思うんですよね。僕はそれで目標設定を明確にして、ダウンラインの方にも自分がなりたい生き方、それを明確にしてそれを結果として決めて日々全てを受け入れて成長していくようにって話はしてますね。
I recently spoke with one of our leaders who talked about his first presentation. He was brand new in the business, had never presented in front of anyone, and was adamant on being absolutely prepared. He practiced his speech. He had the right kind of presentation materials, rented a room, showed up, and one person came. He was completely deflated. He thought there were going to be hundreds. There was one person. But he had been trained well by his upline, who told him to go for it, to follow through with what he had decided to do. He made the presentation. That one person who was there listened, went home. He didn't think anything would come of it, came back to him, and ended up being the strongest leg in his organization and made him one of the most successful leaders in that market.
Then, when you're clear about where you're going and what you want, you're going to realize that you can get there. That the only thing that would stop you from getting there is you stop or you quit. And that's the truth of it.
I think of a farmer who is now a Blue Diamond distributor, who had no formal training, wasn't a public speaker. In fact, he would make his calls while he was on his tractor plowing the fields. And there was something about him. His belief, his optimism, his persistence was infectious, because people who were introduced to Nu Skin because of him stayed with it, and he built an amazing business, all by being a simple guy doing things during his ordinary life that resulted in extraordinary success.
There's an enormous element of discipline involved in the business, where people have to view the world long term and consistently work toward their dream past the first week. You know, when the excitement wears off the second day in this business, so the first time you do a meeting and two people show up, well, gee, that was fun while it lasted. There's an enormous need to discipline yourself and just consistently pursue your goal. And if you can't do that, you better just go be an accountant for somebody. You better just go get a job at a place where, as long as you stay in your seat, you keep your job, because you just can't push any machine to the end of the row if you don't stay persistent.
And all of a sudden, as a mother, you don't expect this 2-day-old baby to be walking around. But you know that it's the simple little steps that are going to get this baby to one day standing on his feet and walking around. And you lead by example. But it's the little steps that are going to take him there. And if we apply that principle to the business, we know that it's not just in a wink of an eye and all of a sudden you have this business. It's the little actions you do every day that tie to the big picture at the end of the big business you build. But every day you're doing the little actions. So you take that baby and he's seeing mommy and daddy walking in front of him every day of his life, and maybe he's 6 months, 7 months, and he starts cruising in the living room, holding on to a little table or whatever. And what do? You don't start scolding him and going, "Oh, come on, you're 7 months old, start walking." You don't do that. You are so excited to see that. You call daddy and you say, "You're not going to believe what the baby just did." Took 2 steps, encouraged them. So you all of a sudden are sharing in their success. It was a little thing. And then what happens? When that baby starts going, all of a sudden he's cruising all over the house. And what do the mommy and daddy have to do? They have to go get gates to stop him and control. Well, that's exactly how this business works. You start with someone that's lost. They don't know what they're doing. And they start with those little steps. And you only encourage them to success. You can't scold anybody to success.
There are 3 types of achievers: high achievers, low achievers, and no achievers. It has been proven time and time again that high achievers have high personal expectations, low achievers have low personal expectations, and yes, those who achieve nothing in life generally have no personal expectations. With that bit of new knowledge, can you see why it is so important that you set high personal expectations for yourself? Every area of your life requires you to have personal expectations if you hope to grow in that area. What do you expect of your physical self? Are you happy with your weight? What weight would you like to be at? What about your financial life? What expectations do you have for your personal income? How about your relationships? Will you choose to set your expectations at high, low, or no? Mediocrity is never an option for a high achiever.
My wife is really the model for how we all ought to be living our lives. We ought to never settle for mediocrity. We ought to push ourselves no matter what the activity it is. I would do paper plates every day. My wife brings out china for breakfast sometimes because that ought to be an excellent experience. I recommend that as a lifestyle we ought to have. No matter what today's activity is, part of our mindset ought to be, how can I add a little more value to this enterprise? How can I add a little more value to what we're doing today in order to squeeze more out of life than we are right now?
There was once a builder who had the reputation of being the best builder around. He had worked for years for a large company, and he had reached the age of retirement. Before retiring, his boss asked him if he would build one more house. He accepted this one last job, but his heart was not involved. As a result, he used inferior materials and incapable workers. When the house was finished, his employer came to him and said, "Thank you for all the years you've worked for me." Then, while reaching into his pocket, he added, "As a gift from me, here is the key. The house is yours. It's a present from me to you." The builder quickly regretted that he had not used the best materials and most capable workers. If he had only known that the house was for him. You and I are the same. The decisions, habits, and the life we are creating now is the life we get to live in the future. There are 2 pains in life, the pain of discipline and the pain of regret. The pain of discipline lasts just a moment, but the pain of regret can last a lifetime.
2 things, okay? Honesty, integrity, no double standard. That's all.
You ask yourself whether you have tried your best. Once you have tried your best, you should have no regret in your life.
To be great at something takes a lot of work, but you can do it. And everybody did it just like you. Nobody gets up in the morning and jumps in their pants both legs at a time. They put them on one leg at a time each, just like you do. You know, it's just the way it is. We're all the same. And any successful person has just done what it took to pay the price, to acquire the skills, to do the extra effort that was necessary to become successful in their field of endeavor.
For me, this is a matter which starts every day. Every morning when I get up, I make a list of things I want to do, and it's a matter of discipline for me, and to always fulfill everything you had in mind, not to do a few things less. You try exactly what you want to do or even more, but never less. And this way you always stay ahead.
A critical ingredient of the success formula when talking about choice and success in your business or any other goal you have is that of true decisions. See, there are decisions and then there are true decisions. High achievers know that there is a point when true decisions must be made. The word decision comes from the Latin root word incision, which means to cut off from. So when you make a true decision, you're cutting yourself off from any other alternative. Therefore, there is no sitting on the fence. There's a story told of a general who sailed across the sea to engage in a war with another country. He knew that his men would be greatly outnumbered and that they would need to be highly committed and motivated if they were going to win. Once his army had exited the ship with all their supplies and made it to shore, he ordered the ships to be burned. As his men watched the ship go up in flames, the general turned to his men and said, "We either win or die." The general made a true decision. There is a difference between saying, "I want to achieve this goal," "I hope to achieve this goal," and "I will achieve this goal."
I think that one of the realities of the business is that there comes a moment in time for almost everyone where they have to decide whether they're going to do this business themselves, with or without upline support. If they have it, great. Many don't. And we corporately want to try to fill in as much as we can when people feel orphaned. But there's a certain moment of truth that comes in the life of every one of our executives where they have to decide for themselves whether they're going to do this business or not, regardless of the level of support they may receive personally.
Persistence is an interesting word because persistence is really about the decision. And when a leader takes a decision, when a successful person takes a decision, an entrepreneur takes a decision, the truth of it is the odds stacked against you, they're totally irrelevant. The only thing that's important is the decision. What you've done in your past makes no difference whatsoever. It doesn't matter what happened yesterday. It's your decision today and utilizing today. Facts are not even important when you make a decision. The only thing that's important in terms of persistence is your decision. And that decision has to be connected to daily action.
And, you know, our room we'd fill it up, 100 people every night for our meetings. People were enthused and excited. And I'd say to them, well, you know, you're all excited and enthused, but this is not easy. It's a commitment program. It's a work program. And so a lot of you who are all enthused tonight are going to quit and give up. And so your commitment has to be strong enough that you can, in fact, stick with it and go the distance. And then there's not one person in here that can't succeed by finding their way.
We asked recently our top leaders what characteristics they felt were important for their success. The number one thing was determination. So knowing, well, just having the attitude that they were going to continue to persevere regardless of what happened. Another one was happiness. They considered themselves happy, positive people. They also said that they were self-starters and that they never quit. Those kind of characteristics are what make leaders succeed. And they're not things that come necessarily in day one. A lot of these things are learned behaviors.
In that process of making your dreams, goals come true, there's always sideballs, curveballs, challenges, difficulties, uphills. There's going to be, experiences that you never thought would occur. But because you've taken the decision to be an entrepreneur, that's going to get you through everything, because at the end of the day, it's the decision that's important.
One of the values which I know Blake Roney has for himself, which I agree with wholeheartedly, is that no success in life compensates for failure in the home. Achieving balance is essential to true success. Too often, some people, desperate for some level of perceived success, will cast aside their spouse and children with the promise that someday it will all be worth it. Never have I seen that promise fulfilled. Each time someone sacrifices their family in exchange for some level of success elsewhere, the end result is heartache and loneliness. The success formula does not work without balance. When you work, work hard. When you play, play hard. Enjoy the journey and take your loved ones with you for the ride.
You know, it does look up front like you need to sacrifice everything to be successful in any endeavor, not just here. It's counterintuitive, but that's not true. almost no one on earth has the stamina to keep up an undesirable lifestyle over the long run in order to be successful. Successful people are people who can design their life in such a way that they're enjoying themselves as they go. They have some level of balance. Rather than sacrificing their family, they're building their family.
What we're really talking about, I think, is total prosperity. You know, I believe in a balance of, number one, your spiritual life, you know, what your personal beliefs are. Number two is your financial life. That's also important, but so is your mental condition, your attitude. 85% of success is attitude. 15% is the mechanics of what we actually do. And then physical. So if a person is in good shape and taking care of themselves on a physical level, if they've got a positive attitude in life, if they've got good basic foundation, spiritual beliefs, whatever you refer to them, good positive morals, and you have financial success, then you live what I refer to as total prosperity.
Success is kind of an elusive thing, and it's measured in lots of different ways. And I've seen lots of people come through and do lots of successful kinds of things with their lives. What I would conclude is that I know that money is not success. I've seen people make millions and millions of dollars and their lives are in shambles and they're anything but successful. I've seen other people who have made relatively modest amounts of money but have spent their lives in very productive, helpful ways, and they have spent their lives in a sphere of joy and giving, and they are hugely successful people, and money had nothing to do with that. It's important as we shape our lives' goals and as we shape our own vision of success that we not chase the bright shiny objects of money and things that detract us from the things that are really going to bring us the most happiness in life. And that would be my definition of success, is to lead a happy, fulfilled, productive, useful life. And sometimes the things that, the measures of success that society most often looks to, the money, the toys, the titles, the prestige, have the least to do with success. As people come through the new skin business and achieve various levels of success, I hope that no one who's making relatively modest amounts of money view themselves as less than successful for that purpose alone, or for that reason alone. If the other pieces of their lives are consistent with their belief structures and they've got they find joy in the things they're doing, they're successful. People who go through the business and make huge amounts of money and get to the end of their lives and find that they're alone with their money because they spent their families, their friends, their relationships in order to end up with their stuff. That's not success. That's tragedy. That's failure.
You have to design your processes for building the business in such a way that you do not trade your family. You do not trade your relationship with your spouse. You do not trade your friendships or your religion, any of your core values in order to make money. And you don't have to. Not only is it not necessary, it's a mistake to trade those things for success.
I would say that when you first start into this business, balance is one of the most difficult things to maintain because you have an excitement level that is off the charts. And you just want to be successful tomorrow. You don't want to necessarily pay the price of long enduring suffering to become a leader, but this is a program that's a work program, so preserve your energy, balance, continue to do your workouts, continue to spend time with your children, continue to do all of those things, because really that's what you're trying to tell other people is the beauty of the business. If I'm looking at you and you are just 24/7 doing new skin, I'm going to say to myself, well, I don't really want to do that because I don't want to live your life. I don't want to be like that. But if you can show that I can work out, I can go on vacation with my family, and I can still be working on the phone, I can still be networking, I can still be opening new opportunities for myself. Network marketing is more of a lifestyle business.
One of the unique things about this business to me is that it clearly, to be successful, it does require sacrifice. And as I hear the stories of our successful leaders, and I talk to the Sean Bradys of the world, for example, who spent months and months, if not years, on the road, almost living on the street at times in some of the countries we've gone into. And you hear the degree of sacrifice that some of these people have made in order to be successful. It is awe-inspiring, and it's also a little bit petrifying at the same time, because our corporate values are such that, frankly, if someone were faced with the decision of attending a child's concert at school that night versus doing a business opportunity meeting that night, we would encourage that person to go to his child's concert at school and to not sacrifice the things that really matter most. I mean, no success can offset failure in the home in particular. And so, having our priorities straight and recognizing that family matters most and that everything else, frankly, is secondary, I think is a unique cultural aspect of this business. I can think of numerous times when I've been in the office late or been working on a project outside in another city late, and I'll send an email at 11 o'clock at night that happens to hit Blake's email box. And he'll call me up on my cell phone and say, "Go home right now, stop what you're doing, your life's out of whack, and your priorities are out of place." And that, in a founder of a company is a rare thing. I was a lawyer in private practice before getting involved in this business, and I can assure you that never once did one of the partners I was working with come into my office at 3 o'clock in the morning and tell me to go home. Didn't happen. I actually found myself on the floor of my office one morning pulling an all-nighter thinking that I was having a heart attack. And my upline, my partner, stuck his head in my office and said, "Are you okay?" I said, "I don't know. My heart's doing funny things." And he looked at me and he said, "You'll get used to it," and walked out of the office. And so in a typical business setting, people almost wear as a badge of honor the fact that they work 24/7. In this business, sacrifice is going to be required. But this is not a business that will ever encourage anyone to sacrifice what matters most in their life in order for them to be successful.
Yeah, the real interesting thing about this business is we've been able to observe lots of people's lives, from an aerial view, from a distant view, but over a course of years, people who have sacrificed everything for financial success, and some who've had it in the process. But it's been very interesting to see that when they arrived, so to speak, they arrived at a miserable place. And of course, we've seen lots of people who've done it properly, who have built their family relationships, been good parents and so forth as they built their business, and have had very high levels of success. And it's just a completely different experience. The success that they enjoy is so much more delicious and wonderful than the loneliness, the really sad success that we see in others. Aristotle once said, "What you expect, you shall find." So that begs the obvious question, what do you expect? At any point in this process, have you stopped to ask yourself that question? Have you really answered it yet? Because as you've just heard over and over and over, whatever you expect, it probably is what you will achieve. Do you expect to have a long, happy marriage, or to raise beautiful, intelligent children, or to build a thriving business? Those personal expectations are what set the pace for your journey. I have always found that when I expect a lot, I accomplish a lot. Take a moment right now, seriously, write down in your notebook or a piece of paper, write down what you expect from yourself over the next day, week, month, and year. And remember, balance is important, so include your personal life as well as your business. Once you've done that, keep it where you can see it every day, and keep watching this video as often as possible. Your next ingredient in the success formula will arrive soon. I look forward to continuing this journey with you. See you soon.